What is up, YouTube? What is up, Canada? Matt McKeever here, and we've got another just kind of Tuesday night millennial Canadian money hangout with Griffin Milks. Hey, Griffin, how's it going?
It's going great. How are you doing today, Matt?
Doing well. So, what have you been up to the last week?
Last week, honestly, lots of stuff, lots of property related stuff. I just got the keys for a new triplex that I purchased. I actually made a video. I don't know if you had the chance to check it out. But
no, I haven't checked it out yet. Gave us a tour?
Yeah, basically a tour. It turned out really well. The tenants in the main unit ended up leaving through their own will. We weren't even aware of that when I took possession of it. So that was like a huge bonus. So yeah, I took the opportunity to go do a tour of the place, kind of do a on the grounds type of video, which is something I don't usually do. I'm in the office, so it's nice to get out and do something different. So yeah, I took possession of that. Really exciting project. We'll be converting that to a fourplex. And then other than that, lots of videos, lots of watching the markets, the equity markets. Oh my gosh, tech is just going crazy in the red right now, which is interesting, right? You got the crypto market going the complete other direction. And then you've got tech stocks going down 50%, some of them that I actually hold in my portfolio. Well, my positions are down 50%, but yeah, it's pretty intense. I'm assuming you don't hold any tech stocks, right, Matt?
No, I've got a couple of super blue chips and a true drip portfolio where it's not even in the street's name, it's in my name. And outside of that, I honestly don't even know what it'd be, but it's maybe like 10, 20 grand. I can't imagine it's more than 25 grand. Yeah.
That's so just like 0.001% of your NFT portfolio.
Yeah. It's not a significant amount. And back in the day, I was a huge lover of dividends and stuff like that. Again, I think it can make a lot of sense. But for me, as I continue just to get more and more obsessed with control and having direct influence over my portfolio, that kept bringing me more and more into doubling down into real estate and entrepreneurship and just kind of building things out that way. Have you ever so right now you're primarily harvesting capital gains, right? Do you do a lot with dividend stocks? Is that
I do have a smaller secondary portfolio with dividend stocks. The thing is though, as I'm building out my portfolio and my net worth, I'm allocating a lot more of my essentially my entire portfolio to real estate right now, because just looking at the last 2-3 years of my returns, I've just been able to create such consistent returns with real estate. And then I also am focusing a lot more on a capital gain strategy with tech stocks. But yes, I do have a smaller dividend portfolio. The thing is, when you have like 40 grand in a dividend portfolio at 5% yield, it's great, to hold on long term. I just reinvest all the dividends, but it is definitely slower for rapid wealth building. Yeah, but it's been tough this past week for tech. You're looking at companies, for example, this past, I think it was 2 weeks ago now, you're seeing Facebook, you're seeing Amazon, all these companies coming out with their earnings. And it's just been such an expensive market over the past 6 months, with even the S&P 500 had like a PE in the 50 range, average PE. But the companies are coming out with astronomical numbers. Like, I'm talking destroying earnings. Amazon's such an influential company. It almost seems like there's so much priced into these companies right now that investors it's just not enough, right? It pumped up. Amazon stock specifically, for example, went up, I think it was like 10, 15, maybe 10 to 12% after earnings, and has since pretty much shed off all those gains. So it's definitely an interesting time in the market. We're talking off air here about crypto, of course. ETH completely going wild this past week. It's just nuts. The market right now is crazy. What are your thoughts on that, Matt? I know obviously you don't hold any tech stocks, probably for that reason.
I don't really hold much, and so definitely none of the tech stocks. But I did have, just out of the corner of my eye, I was watching it primarily just in the hopes that we'd see some announcement of some company adding Bitcoin to its balance sheet, right? So I know Peter Thiel's company, Palantir, right? They just announced that they see Bitcoin as a potentially valid investment, and they'll be looking to add it to their balance sheet. So honestly, outside of trying to chase a couple of those news headlines, I don't pay a lot of attention, but I agree with you. I think that there's so much capital out there that a lot of frothy expectations have already been baked in to a lot of the pricing, I assume, again, in part based upon how the markets are reacting. But, whether we're talking stock market, crypto, it seems like almost everything these days, people want to buy, they almost seem to want to sell the rumor, like they're buying and selling the rumor. They're not even waiting for the news to come around at this point in time. And
yeah, I mean, trading on news is one thing, and now trading on rumor, that's a whole other beast right there. Also, what's interesting, speaking about, for example, Palantir looking to put Bitcoin on their balance sheet, it's interesting how right now a company, for example, that would have a huge positive earnings release is already somewhat priced in, but it almost seems like investors would be more interested and inclined to invest in a company maybe that is looking to add cryptocurrency to their balance sheet. It's definitely an interesting time where
maybe it's why Mark Zuckerberg named his two goats Max and Bitcoin. I don't know if you saw that. Yeah, it was making the rounds on the internet. He did a Facebook update, and I think GOAT 1 is Bitcoin and GOAT 2 is Max, and so people think it stands for Bitcoin maximalist. But again, it's just such a fascinating time where like little microcosms of the internet will just like explode with all these photos, memes, interpretations, right? Into it's actually not that, it's slightly different, but it doesn't really feel that dissimilar to like reading tea leaves or trying to like judge stock markets by astrology or anything else like that, right? Where like, again, it's not about like really understanding the underlying fundamentals of the business. It's about reacting to headlines and news and things of that nature.
Yeah, and I think that's what's most difficult, especially for newer investors right now, where you tend to think that following fundamentals is going to be the way to go, which in history it has been, and it's still extremely important. Like a company that's completely trash over time isn't going to do well, but on a much shorter term basis, earnings and actual financial figures don't seem to play nearly as much of a role in the 6 months to like a year or so returns right now. And just headlines and stuff are having such a larger impact. So yeah, definitely an interesting time. I didn't even know Mark Zuckerberg had goats. That's he should make those into like some form of NFT or something and have them.
I'm sure he could commission a drawing from Beeple and sell it for top dollar, because Beeple does like having goats in his art.
That's funny. Yeah. So anyways, did you want to bring anything up before we go over some user submitted questions?
So, we're always talking about random crypto stuff. So I thought I'd maybe just give two updates on two different NFT things in the crypto world. So one, Gary V dropped his NFT today. So people that have been following my shit, I've been talking about for a while. Still didn't go completely smooth. There was definitely some bumps and kinks in the process. I gave up on trying to buy something today, and I was like, fuck it, I'll just try and do it tomorrow. Also, there was a glitch in the MetaMask. So like,
he just posted not to cut you off, he just posted a photo saying we're live. Auctions are live 10 minutes ago.
So again, like it was supposed to drop at 5:55, and I think like they really got it working just in the last half hour, actually. But there was a glitch on MetaMask where we went to put in a bid that was I think for around 28,000 USD, but it misreported the gas fee and told us the gas fee was going to be 18,000 USD. So that the gas fee was almost going to be 50%. It was just like a Gary V website and MetaMask glitch thing or something that turns out they got it fixed now or whatever. But like, again, it reminds me how early we are in all this, right? And it can be easy when you live in echo chambers of people that talk about this stuff to think, oh man, this is mainstream, or maybe I've already missed out on the wave. But like, nah, shit still breaks. Launches don't go according to plan.
If the guy who's literally been planning this type of project for so long is having that type of issue, yeah, that's a testament to how early we are. Absolutely. I would agree with that.
Yeah. And then one other story in the NFT world talking about how early we are was Meepits, which is the one thing that I was talking about previously. It turns out, long story short, I won't go too deep into it, but there was an opportunity to exploit the code as it was written for someone that was trying to get one of the free ones that I'd mentioned. Like I got a free one because I owned a CryptoPunk. And essentially this dude was able to keep going through until he found a valuable one, an alien, and took the alien and sold it for 200 ETH within 2 hours. So essentially, like, he hacked the game and made over $600,000 USD within 2 hours. And he literally like tweeted it and shared it in the Discord chat as it was happening. So like his tweet read like a little cryptic at the start. He was like, if everything goes according to plan, my ROI should be north of $200,000 per hour for the next 2 hours. And he ended up like making 600,000 USD, sold it to Pranksy, who then turned around and sold it for 299,000. So Pranksy made 99,000 ETH. So literally in one day,
99,000 ETH.
Yeah. And the guy before him made 200 ETH, right? So like this thing ended up selling for 300 ETH, 299 ETH before the end of the day. And it's just like, again, what a goddamn Wild West. Like I wake up in the morning, check my Discord chat, and it's just like on fire, right? I just see like chats are going so fast, I can't even understand what's going on. I'm like, what in the hell? So anyways, to try and bring this all back to a theme, guys, I know I chat a lot about NFTs right now. I'm having fun goofing around in this space, but I think it's really important that everyone else stay focused on their primary hustles. I've got businesses, I've got CEOs or managers in place at my different businesses so that I can go and, you know, have these flights of fancy. But at the same time, there's so many distractions. There's so many shitty projects being launched. And I think, you know, try and get rich quick. And so many people are just hoping that for a greater fool theory to their investment, right? I'll buy this, cross my fingers, and hope someone else will come in and pay more for it. And, you know, I'll stick that sucker with the bill. So don't be that sucker, guys. Make sure you're doing lots of research. And I really encourage anyone that's watching this still, go buy that first Bitcoin, stack enough sats to have the first Bitcoin. Then once you've got that Bitcoin, come goof around with me in the NFT world, but probably don't do it before then. But anyways, I've got NFTs off my chest.
No, it's cool. And honestly, I'm really happy you just said that. I think it is something that needs to be said a lot more because right now, like if you're a viewer who follows the finance space in general on YouTube, it's only natural that you're going to start getting flooded with different topics that are a bit trendier. So for the average person that's getting flooded with NFT talk and stuff, even with a lot of the larger YouTube channels, I have seen a transfer over the past couple of months from stocks, real estate to NFTs, cryptos. And this may give a false sense to some people that like you should be just going all in on that right away without actually focusing on, like you said, building your business outside. And so there's a lot of buzz right now, a lot of distraction, and it's really important that you still focus on, you know, your main hustle, because at the end of the day, that's where you're gonna create your monthly cash flow. But yeah, there's crazy opportunity right now. Even I'm looking at one of the comments here from Crazy Compilation said, sold 1 ETH this week, bought Shiba Inu, it tripled, then bought 3 ETH with it, LOL. See, like, yeah, that's awesome. But I'd like to know, Crazy Compilation, key to stick to your plan. Yeah. What other trades did you do this week, you know, and did they all go as planned?
Yeah. Well, and like, I know a lot of people, and I understand the concept behind, you know, buy the rumors, sell the news, particularly when we're looking at things like Dogecoin. So with SNL and all that coming this weekend, again, like I know someone that they played the Dogecoin thing. It worked out well for them. They made 6 figures just on a 1 week trade, right? Jumping in and out. But at the same time, there's a lot of people that thought they would time it just a little bit better, held on just a little too long, and all of a sudden found themselves holding the bag, right?
And I think that human nature right there.
Yeah, absolutely. Just getting greedy, right? Mm-hmm. And I think more and more we're going to see more and more individuals burning themselves by getting greedy and not harvesting some profits, not taking some money off the table and moving it into some lower risk assets. Again, that's not to say that you can't gamble whatsoever with your portfolio, but you always need to know what you're doing going in. So like if this is a gamble, you need to be honest with yourself. That's what it is. And understand, I don't think, you know, outside of the occasional cryptocurrency casino winner, like most wealth isn't built by getting lucky. Most wealth isn't built by betting it on black or red, crossing your fingers and hoping you get a 100x or 1,000x or a 10,000x return. In fact,
Even if it
most
is, you're not
empires
gonna
and
keep
wealth.
it straight
Yeah.
up. Like
Most
you post
empires
it.
and wealth is built through hard work, consistency, that persistence,
Yeah.
all that stuff is what really over time allows you to build that financial fortress of solitude.
Yeah, and compounding, not only just of, you hear about compound interest all the time, sure, like that's powerful, but also compounding of your knowledge base, like straight up, right? Today, I saw in your story, Matt, you posted this story about if you won 10 grand or no, 1,000 versus 10,000 doesn't mean you're gonna know how to manage your money better. That is just so accurate. It's very simplistic and logical, but it's true. You know, if you give someone $1 million and they have no idea how to manage their money, they might go and spend the whole thing on Dogecoin.
Yeah, and like all you need to do is look at, you know, any sports, right? And like look at the big sports stars, and there's always a story there, right? Like, was it Iverson at one point in time had 150 million? Now he's in debt. Like, and there's just a million stories like that of, you know, sports players or individuals that had huge sums of money and then couldn't, you know, effectively manage it. And I mean, take it one step further. Show me a government that knows how to manage money, right? And they're supposed to be the adults in the room, and they get to print money, and they still can't manage their money effectively.
Print the money. Yeah, no, it's crazy. Totally different topic. Are you gonna watch the? Do you follow Floyd Mayweather and that whole?
I think it's fascinating. I've never watched like one of Paul's fights or anything like that, but I think it's fascinating spectacle. And I will say something that like I think slightly before it was commonplace to like kind of hate on them, I was probably a little bit of a hater, but I've actually softened up a lot. And in fact, I saw a tweet the other day that literally changed my interpretation of reality. Like where I was like, maybe these Paul brothers are fucking geniuses beyond even my estimation, where someone was like, they're Andy Kaufman. And I was like, that is interesting. I've never really sat down and like, I knew they were smart business people. They're making tons of money, building huge personal brands. But then to also think that they're having fun the way Andy Kaufman was having fun, where like, it's literally all just like the only one maybe even in on the joke is them. Like, as in like, it's literally they're playing to an audience of one that's themselves. And, you know, I've always been a fan of comedy, and Andy Kaufman's an interesting individual. So that really just like, it's been something I've actually been thinking about all week. So long story short, really? I won't be watching the fight. I'll watch some highlights on Twitter, but how about yourself?
I think it's hilarious, honestly. I mean, Jake Paul, Logan Paul, you know, it's their personalities that we've been following for years in and out of media, just because they're at that level where they do make headlines and stuff. You're going from a guy literally now, he's going to fight Floyd Mayweather, who has never lost a fight in history in his career. And like literally 3 years ago, this guy was getting canceled hard. Like, I don't know if you remember this. Like, that's the power of the internet, how you can shift who you are too, and your perception in the media. It's really fascinating. And yes, they are smart. Absolutely. As much as they play dumb on camera, they're business owners and they're very smart. Anyways, I find it very fascinating.
And for anyone watching this, let me know, do you think, are they the new Andy Kaufman in the comments? Because I need to get some other perspectives than one random tweeter.
All right, so let's go. Let's head on over to some user submitted questions. Love it when the audience submits some stuff. Keeps the conversation lively. So let's see. First one. I guess we'll just continue on the crypto stuff. Crypto mining in Canada and your experience with it. Have a great day. Have you mined crypto at all, Matt?
No, I've got a couple buddies that dabble, and I've done some research, but never actually done it.
So are your buddies on a larger scale, like an actual industrial size, or smaller?
No, like the one, maybe, I don't know what this equates to, but I want to say he spent maybe 50 to 75,000 Canadian on his equipment and produces maybe 1 or 2 ETH a month. I think that's roughly what it works out to, like based upon, I think he got into it in the last year or so. And then I know a couple other little hobbyists, but I don't know anyone doing it on an industrial scale. Like, I know some companies that are doing on industrial scales, and like I have some connections through previous employees of theirs. But yeah, I'd love to learn more. So honestly, anyone that's dabbling in that shit, always slide into my DMs and let me know if you're crushing it with mining, because I love the idea, but I haven't got into it. But you've been dabbling for a while, right?
Well, it's one of those things too, where, over the past 3 years in the like valley of crypto death, when a coin was, what was the lowest, the average Bitcoin price over the past year, Matt? Like a couple, 5,000, something like that. Honestly.
And I lose track of time these days. So like if we talk on longer scales, I can tell you, but yeah, let's call it 10,000.
Yeah. Anyways, just because for a pretty long period of time, like if you set up your entire factory, your mine, back in 2017, there was a long period where if your energy costs and your cost to, like, this is a legitimate business if you're actually doing it on a large enough scale. So, I mean, these people are having a full-on business plan, cost analysis and everything. So of course you have to see what your break-even point is per coin. But there's this one guy I know, he's from my hometown. He set up a huge rig down in the Bahamas in shipping containers and stuff where electricity was dirt cheap. So I don't talk to him or anything, but he must just be rolling in the dough right now. It's absolutely insane. But for that long period of time, the future seemed pretty bleak in a sense if you had a mining rig, and now you're just loading right back into profitability.
Yeah, actually, and that just reminds me, I did have one fan DM me and show me what he had. I think he had maybe, I'm probably going to say this wrong, but 8 GPUs or whatever. And each one of them, he had it set up in his furnace room. He literally was running it into his ductwork in the winter to heat his house. And I think he was saying that he only needed to keep the fan on or whatever because it was pumping out so much heat or whatever. He had like this whole little thing rigged up. It was funny.
Yeah, I'm gonna call bluff on that because I do have a couple of GPUs at home. Like I do have a little rig. They do get hot, don't get me wrong, but to heat your house in Canadian winter, this guy, or like
I have no idea where he lives.
Okay.
He just sent it to, like, I just recognized the ductwork. And he clearly had like a natural gas furnace beside it. But
That's funny,
again, dude could be in Texas for all I know.
Yeah, exactly. It gets to like 15 degrees Celsius is winter for them. But no, I have like 3 GPUs right now. But for the longest time, the estimate to break even was like years and years and years. It was basically never going to be profitable. And literally in the past 6 months, mined about 7 coins. So, pretty significant, but it literally just shot up in value. So yeah, it's pretty exciting time if you did have a mining rig for a while. But I would not recommend, if you're just a small time guy at home looking to set up a rig. I was looking at GPUs the other day and they're like $1,000 a piece still.
Yeah, I think this is definitely a bad time to buy when it's all in the rumors. Like, you're going to have to wait until things cool.
Especially considering like the mining difficulty has more than tripled since I started 4 years back, and then on top of that, obviously that's just for Ethereum. If you're looking to mine some sort of altcoin, it's going to be different. But there's so many altcoins that you can mine right now. It's hard to give a blanket statement. But in my experience, it has been profitable as a result of taking action like 4 years ago, though. So let's go to the next question. Buying real estate in markets like Vancouver and Toronto, what to look for? Pretty standard question. Crazy high markets. Matt, you go on this one.
I go just pass. I just don't. In general, I think those markets are so expensive. So unless it's for personal use, right? And again, personal use is a whole different set of buying criteria than as an investor. But if we're making an emotional decision, what are you looking for in a house, and figure that out and try and ensure that whatever type of house you love, that there's other people would love that house after you as well, so that you can you've got some liquidity or there's some demand. The more custom the house or the more unique it is, the lower the liquidity in general. But if we're looking for investment properties, honestly, I see so many wannabe real estate investors or aspiring real estate investors trying to put a saddle on a cow, right? Which that's what trying to invest in Vancouver or Toronto and make cash flow is, in my opinion, at this stage. So I'd really encourage people to first figure out what it is you're trying to invest, like what your goal is as an investor, and then really make sure that those markets allow for strategies that will be complementary towards your goal.
Yeah, and we talk about this quite a bit. I think the 2 last live streams we talked about this, so we'll just wrap it up quickly. But just one last thing I'll say about that is you need to also consider the whole opportunity cost, right? If you're going to buy like a duplex that's $1 million in the GTA, and you're going to save, even if you put 5% down, I mean, you're looking at a substantial amount of money, and that can take years and years to build up to with your savings. And then also you have a huge mortgage tied to you, which could limit your other borrowing capacity for other properties down the line. So that's something I'd also say. And if you do have the ability to work from home anyways, I would say definitely do consider moving out of there.
Yeah, I see we got a couple quick questions here in the chat, so I thought I'd just share them. One is primary residence, which to choose variable 1.33 or fixed 1.74, 5-year term. What are your thoughts? Where do you land, Griffin?
Depends what your strategy is going to be. So for me, okay, no, this is for a primary residence.
Yeah.
Primary residence, I would say I would go with the fixed. If had it been it depends, right? Right now, interest rates are expected to remain pretty low for the next couple of years. So you could go with the variable. I was going to say if it is a rental property though, and you plan on flipping it or refining it, I got burned on that pretty hard with fixed mortgages because I had to pay like a huge penalty to break those mortgages, and I wasn't aware of that. But for a primary residence, this question, I would probably say the fixed. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, unless there was, extenuating circumstances that you haven't explained. Honestly, a 5-year fix at 1.74, I feel like I'm robbing the bank. Yeah. Like, I literally came up when we would be grinning ear to. I'm trying to think of what our very first mortgage was. My very first mortgage ever was a variable. I want to say at 2.45 at the time. And I honestly thought like we were robbing the bank. I was just like, we were grinning like shit-eating grins, like, because that's free money in our opinion back then. And that was like more than a decade now. Today, 1.74 just as a fixed, free money in my opinion. I would say absolutely. Again, if you're planning to burr it or something like that in the short term, just make sure that mortgage is complementary to whatever the strategy is. But I mean, either way, it's hard to go wrong at that price.
1.74. Yeah. I mean, even when I got my first property a couple of years ago, we were looking at like 2.7 or something like that. So 1.74 fixed for 5 years. There's also something to say about the whole psychology behind fixed payments and no unknowns. Also, if you're someone who likes to really budget monthly, this is a really easy way that you can know your exact housing costs for the next 5 years.
So we've got another question here that just seems like a good fit for you, Griffin. So is there a benefit to house hacking in Gatineau opposed to Ottawa or vice versa?
The benefit straight up is you can actually purchase a property for less than $1 million. I'm joking on the million, but house hacking definitely is something that is super powerful. We talked about it a lot on our channels.
Quick question. I assume it is, but like the CMHC rules are pretty much the exact same in Quebec, right? So you can still do 5% down on a single fam or duplex.
Single fam, duplex, 5% down, triplex for 10%. And yes, you can do owner occupied loan through the CMHC or Genworth. Yep, that works. So, is there a benefit to house hacking in Gatineau? I would say it's a lot more affordable. And honestly, depending on where you do go in Gatineau, Elmer, for example, it's really not that bad. Everyone speaks English. You're 5 minutes away from the bridge. If you are English, I mean, not that French people are bad. I speak French too. And yeah, honestly, I don't really have anything more to say about that. It's house hacking anywhere is great. Gatineau is a really hot market right now, but I continue seeing prices probably stagnating a bit over the coming years, but still continuing to increase. Like the actual value of houses right now and average rents that you'll get for your other unit in the duplex or triplex are really low compared to average yearly incomes for people in Quebec also, well, in Gatineau. So there is definitely some room for rents to grow as well. And overall, it's just a good market. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate that. And actually, I'm just pulling something up here. So if you've got one more question, feel free to fire it off. But otherwise, I literally just need to get your opinion, seeing how you're closer to Quebec than anyone else that I regularly chat with. So I just need to ask you one or two questions about properties in Quebec, but it's going to take me a second to get my screen share up here.
Sure. I'll pull up one quick other question then. Someone asked, how much liquid cash do you that's a good one. Have in your portfolio as a percentage at all times? So for me personally, it depends. Over the past little while, I have bumped it up quite a bit, I'll be honest, especially because I do plan on buying properties, putting some renos in, and also purchasing some stocks that I have my eyes on. Right now, it's honestly about 20%, which is like the highest it's been in a while. But it usually fluctuates between 10 and what it is right now. How about you, Matt?
Yeah, when I was younger, we were tight. So, like, every dollar was important. So I would stretch every dollar. I would, as a percentage of my net worth, it was probably relatively high, but just because my net worth was very low. But, there was definitely times in my first 5 years as a real estate investor that, scraping together $5,000 might be a challenge with only 24 hours notice. So, with time, as I grew my portfolio, hopefully Griffin's frozen. I'm not the one frozen right now, but I'm going to keep talking anyways in the hopes that I'm not. And so with that being said, with time, I've definitely grown to love cash more because it gives me more options. But when capital was tight, I was all about burning my properties, trying to recycle my money to make as much as possible with each dollar. So at this stage, I've been selling off a lot of my personal real estate. So I'm sitting on more cash than I'd actually like. But that's in part because I want a dollar cost average into my other investments rather than trying to just, liquidate one position and throw it all into another new position. So that's kind of where I stand right now. I would say it's probably 10 to 20% of my net worth, and I'd prefer it to be closer to 5%. One, because I don't trust fiat currency that much. But the other aspect is, again, I like my money to be just going to work for me, right? Each dollar is a soldier, each dollar is an employee, and I want to put them to work. So again, that's a big factor for me. I'll answer a question here from Jasmine, and then hopefully we'll get Griffin back on here because I really want to get his opinion on some of this Quebec real estate I've been looking at. But otherwise, Jasmine was asking, if your grandmother gave you $25,000, how would you invest it? Great question, and definitely not uncommon for people to come into lump sums of money at different points in their life. Like everything that I talk about, it really does come down to your goals. So, what is important to you? What are we trying to do, right? Is the goal to try and build a financial fortress of solitude? Out of that, is the goal to try and, buy your first house and just build that or have that 25,000 grow so that you can buy your own house? But if you were to give it to like 21-year-old Matt McKeever back in the day, I'd probably try and find a way to see if I could turn that $25,000 into a down payment on a house that I could house hack, assuming that I could house hack in that property and live for free. So back in 2010, when I started in London, I could probably pull that off with that $25,000 amount. Now today, I probably couldn't. So I'd either have to look at going to a lower cost of living area, maybe a Chatham, might be able to squeeze into a Sarnia, but like a Chatham would probably be pretty safe. I can probably make something work with $25,000 in Chatham. That's the direction I would go. Now, if house hacking wasn't practical, if it just didn't make sense for me, I'd probably then pivot and either, put that $25,000. It's hard because I know what I would do, but what advice I would give to someone that's got their first $25,000 is a little bit different. So looks like we've got Griffin back on. Griffin, if your grandma gave you $25,000, and I'm assuming you don't necessarily have a lot of other money in this scenario, where would you get started? What would you invest that in?
And you have no assets, no other prior assets?
Let's assume you're not otherwise financially wealthy.
For the time being, I would probably look to buy a property, to be quite honest. I would do a 5% down property. That's the first thing I would do. With $25K, you can easily use that money for properties in multiple regions in Canada. Otherwise, if you're not able to do that because you live in another market, I would probably put it in a low-cost index fund at the beginning, at least while you're learning financial literacy and learning how to navigate the markets and understanding what your strategy is going to be. Even just an S&P 500 like ETF, it's hard to give a blanket statement because everyone's situation is different, but that's probably what I would do. And then as you get more comfortable with your overall strategy, you can pinpoint more lucrative opportunities. And yeah, I was frozen, so I didn't hear what you said, Matt. But
no problem. So because I've got my screen share up here now, I'm just going to do this quick, and you let me know here, Griffin. But I just got a question. I think we've even talked about Sherbrooke now that I'm looking at the map again. But
we did last week, yeah.
Like, what's the deal here? You're going to have to explain this to me. I'll zoom in, but I'm constantly looking for nice houses to live in. This one here, it looks like it's just kind of north of Sherbrooke. It's been for sale forever. And when I show you some of the interior photos, you're just going to have to tell me, is it really that bad living in Quebec that spending only 1.5 million still isn't a deal? Because when I see just this glass, I'm like,
Sure.
That house already is worth more than 1.5 million anywhere, literally anywhere in Ontario. You throw it in the Ring of Fire, James Bay region, I think this house would still sell for more. I'm looking at it, I'm like, this is wonderful. Love it. Extra buildings, that's just a bonus. Farmland in addition, literally everything. Look at that. That's nicer than
insane.
most
That's
hotels
so awesome.
I go to, right? I'm like, 1.5 million. Like,
So
how
what's your
bad
question?
is it? How bad is it living in Sherbrooke or Quebec in general that no one has wanted to buy this for the last year?
Okay, that is definitely surprising. I would say if it's been on the market for a year, there probably is something going on with the property because I agree 1.5 million. You got an indoor pool. Like who the heck has that?
With those glass atriums, like that's just next
beautiful.
level.
But I will say that, can you go back to the map actually? I want to see where this is.
Let's jump back. So it's essentially like, I can zoom in here, but that's kind of.
I'll be real, like that's in the booties. Like to be honest, that is far. You're living in the country, so that's why I would say the property price is only 1.5 million. Now, whether or not there is something underlying an issue with it, of course, I don't know. But Sherbrooke is like a small town. Personally, I wouldn't move there. And then you're still a good hour and a bit away from Montreal. So yeah, you're living in farmland. I mean, to be honest, I probably wouldn't mind that. Actually, I do everything from my house anyways. Like I hardly leave.
I'm like, I can just have base camp. Everyone comes to me because I've got the sweet pool. Like I don't even understand why I'd leave my house at that point. But I just, for the last year, I've literally just been kind of looking at this place being like, what is your deal? But anyways, just kind of want to have some fun.
You can become a farmer. You can become a hemp farmer.
Right. Grew up on a farm. I can maybe end on a farm as well. But it's shocking to me when I look at houses with indoor pools or waterfront, Quebec is this little microcosm of affordability. It's like Quebec and rural Saskatchewan and Manitoba. Those are the only places I can find like massive mansions where I'm just like, oh, this is actually still too cheap. Like I feel like I'm ripping someone off by buying it here. But
as I am looking at that though, like if you look at it just from a distance, I rarely go to Sherbrooke. Last time I went there was probably a decade ago, so I don't really remember. But just looking at the actual distance on the map, like where that 4 marker is to Montreal, that's maybe 80% of the distance between Montreal and Ottawa, and it's 2 hours away for me from Montreal. So yeah, you're definitely living in the sticks. But if you're cool with that, I'd say go for it.
I mean, like Tesla take the wheel, right? And you're just going to sleep on your way to Montreal eventually anyways. But I just thought it was kind of fun to check out and get your opinion on it because, again, it blows my mind. But what were you going to say?
In terms of price points, it's just unparalleled in Quebec. It really is, because you're right. I mean, if that was of course, the GTA is ridiculous, but if that was in downtown Toronto, it'd be like $15 million probably.
Oh, yeah. Like, so even if it was just in London, I think it would be at least another like on the outskirts, just like in the boonies here. I think it would be at least another million, maybe another $1.25 million.
Yeah. No, it's impressive, but you'll be living with some very French folk. I'll tell you that.
That was my biggest fear is once you get into the boonies in Quebec, I'm no longer going to have the friendly bilinguals.
And I won't get into this too much, but in like rural Quebec, like I said, Gatineau, no problem, whatever. In rural Quebec, there is more discrimination against English people. I will be honest about that. So, anyways, you take it. You got an indoor pool though for $1.5 million. What can you say? No, what I was going to say quickly, because you brought up the Tesla auto drive. So I have a Model 3, and today I was up at the dealership and they lent me a Model X, the one with the gull wing doors.
Oh yeah.
That thing's nuts. Honestly, like unbelievable. The engineering behind that thing is just nuts. You go up to a grocery store, and I was in this tight little parking spot, and the doors just going up. Unbelievable engineering. Yeah. Like, it's really cool. I just thought I'd put that out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's fascinating. Like, my next vehicle will likely be a Tesla if I have a next vehicle, but I also just love to be able to live a life where I don't even really need one. Love to get that sharing economy fully flowing, but we'll see how that all plays out.
Yeah.
Awesome, Griffin. Well, I appreciate you jumping on another live stream. I hope everyone here tonight enjoyed this live stream. If you guys did, smash that like button, hit subscribe. We'll have a link to all of Griffin's links in the video description down below. So if you want to jump over to his YouTube, it's Instagram. Those are probably the two big channels, right, that you hit on these days?
Yep.
Awesome. And guys, encourage you to jump over, check out that triplex tour, kind of behind the scenes that Griffin just closed on. And any videos coming up you want to tease?
Videos coming up. So I am planning on doing a couple more live streams. I'm going to start doing some live streams on my channel, just because after doing this with Matt a couple times, he's basically introduced me and made me nice. It's a new concept, so I'm going to probably be doing some of those. But we do speak a lot more about stocks on my channel, so going over earning statements and stuff. Thanks a lot to everyone who did tune in tonight. Really appreciate it. And thanks, Matt, for having me on having these live streams on your channel for now. I think it's really valuable to everyone, and yeah, great conversation.
Yeah, appreciate it, Griffin. And just as an FYI to the audience, we are going to take a little hiatus. So going forward, you're not going to see this on future Tuesday nights. But come first week of July, we're going to be launching a new YouTube channel. We'll try and have at least weekly uploads there, hang out live, and just try and create a lot more great Canadian content for all you folks at home. If you enjoyed it, again, smash the like button.
Have some guests on or something.
Exactly.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll bring in some other fellow Canucks, and looking forward to it. And we'll see you guys in the next video.